curious about why you see so much division from the Christian perspective on reparations, because at the heart of a Christian, we want justice. We want to love our neighbor. But when it comes to reparations, Christians can be so divided on how they look at it.
Well, I guess I would think of it concentrically, and I'll start with an outer ring. I think that some of those divisions are related to the kind of pragmatics of it, of how might it take shape? How could we possibly do what we're trying to do? And so some of the level, as we've seen it, some of the conversations are at the level of the complexity of application, and people are divided about that. Then there's a kind of a ring in of real confusion about the language of reparations itself, notions of political economy, and who is on the hook and who is not, and who gets included in those to whom reparations are owed and who are not. And those are I think actually complicated questions around political economy, and so that's a ring in. I think I saw another ring in terms of what we hear. It starts to take on a slightly personal hue, which is, why should I have to pay for something that I wasn't implicated in, or that I wasn't complicit in? And there's a very discernibly defensive tone that is at the heart of a lot of these things, which in our own view is a both an extraordinarily limited account of social culpability, and also a profoundly naive account of one's own personal history. But then at the core, I really do believe that American evangelicalism is we're talking about where a lot of those particular concerns come from. My own view is that it is a cultural project that consistently mistakes itself for a theological project. And at the heart of that cultural project is American exceptionalism, and the inability to acknowledge that something this tragic has happened and continues to have social effect. And I believe that is perpetuated by pastors who refuse to tell the truth about this history, who continue to try to minimize it. And I think it is also shielded by pastors who continually overly or exclusively personalize the gospel with what King calls sanctimonious trivialities, and continue to form people to not actually know the truth about what happened, and in a correlative way, and I'll stop with this, prejudice their hearers against people who raise these issues by calling them liberal or un-American or woke or social justice warriors. I think that tragically, part of the reason there is division, and I don't actually know how much division there is. I think that there's almost a uniform hostility in the church, and I think that is directly related to the types of homiletic and spiritual formation that are at this hour taking place in much of American evangelicalism. And I fully lay the blame for the inability of the American church that we are talking about, the inability of that church to seriously countenance something that is a fundamental part of Christian ethical tradition. I lay the blame for that fully at the feet of those pastors.
And I really don't have that much to add, except simply to say it's important. Again, this is repeating what Greg just said, that we don't want to know this, see this, embrace and understand this. I mean, of course, there's perceived threats and a balking at the perceived cost of this or that implication. But it begins first and foremost with the refusal simply to see, as we talk about it in our book, the refusal to see the atrocities that were committed by white supremacy, the responsibility that we bear for them, and then the significant work that it'll take to repair them. I mean, we really would prefer to believe in mythologies that give us permission to move on or move forward, or however directionally we want to use that language in terms of ignoring the past. We don't see because we don't want to see. And reparations is rejected because we prefer it simply to be such, rejected and forgotten. There's a willfulness behind that I think itself is damning.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this video clip from the Delgado Podcast. To get more videos like this, simply subscribe here on YouTube. You can also download the full episode of each show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or your favorite podcast player. Take care.